Hi guys, this video is brought to you by AcetheCLAT, and in this video we would be talking about reading an editorial or reading an editorial effectively. Okay, so the questions that may come in your mind are that where to read editorials, है ना, where to read online पढ़ें, offline पढ़ें, newspaper मतलब offline मतलब newspaper में पढ़ें या फिर internet पे पढ़ें, right? Structure of editorials. I would talk about what a general editorial frames his or her article or editorial, right? This structure may not be applicable to all the editorials in the world because obviously every editor has his or her own style of structuring, right? But you know, a general structure of editorials which may help you understand the editorial itself in a better way. I would also read an editorial myself so that, you know, hopefully you get some good idea as to how an editorial should be read, right? And finally, I would also talk about some useful tips that may further help you in reading the editorials effectively, right? So let us get started from the first question. Where to read editorials, right? Now, when we talk about the mode of reading editorials, we have two modes, right? We have online mode, which means we go to the website of the newspaper, right? We go to the website of the newspaper and then go to opinion section, then editorial section, and then read the editorial, right? But another way can be an offline way of reading, which means you read the editorial from the newspaper itself, and that's all about it, right? Now both the modes have their own pros and cons. Now let's say that you do not study from your tablet or your laptop, right? Then it may be it may be a cost-effective way to read editorials from the newspaper itself, but a problem with that is that you cannot keep track of editorials, right? Newspaper is of no use by the end of day, right? And then we tend to dispose it off, and it is not generally expected from anyone that, you know, editorials के cutouts निकाल के रखेंगे. That is not very important. What you need to do is that gauge through each of the editorials effectively, right? And then you need not go back every time, but sometimes it may be helpful, right? Now, talking about online sources, the best part of online sources is that most of the newspapers are free to read, right? Offline may still you have to pay 5 rupees or sometimes 10 rupees per day, right? Online may, except for few good newspapers, it is generally free, right? As of now, I mean at the time of recording this video. Another good thing about online resources is that you are able to locate the editorial quite easily. You just have to go to the website of the newspaper, then go to opinion section, and then further go to editorial section, right? And then you have the editorial in front of you. Now the downside of reading editorials online is that sometimes your eyes may get strained when you spend too much time on the internet or on the screen of any kind, right? And another downside can be that when you read an editorial from a free website, right, from a free newspaper website, now most of the time, in most of the cases, there would be tons of ads that will keep distracting you. So I have a solution for this, but when we talk about straining of our eyes, the best solution is that you use your device only when required. You do not waste any time on social media on your laptop or your phone, right? That solution is with you. It's up to you to manage your screen time, right? I have a solution for keeping the distractions out from an editorial page. Okay, I'll talk about this, and Mercury Reader is one of them. Okay, so it is just an, obviously this is not a sponsor video. I like this, I use this, so I'm telling you. Okay, let's go to internet. Yeah, I have some of the newspapers that I talked about in a previous video: the New Indian Express, the Indian Express, the Times of India, and the Hindu. The Hindu is paid, guys. I think it is 1200 per year, right? Anna, the Hindu is paid. You can obviously get yourself a solution as to how to read the Hindu editorials or the Hindu newspapers for free, right? The Times of India, but for the time being, the Times of India, the Indian Express and the New Indian Express are free to use, right? Now, when we talk about this, now, when we talk about, let's say, this editorial Centers Vista, we see that there are a lot of ads that may block your, or may divert your attention, basically, right? So one thing you can do is that you go to Chrome Web Store, right? Or any Chrome Web Store supporting browser. You search Chrome Web Store and then you search for Mercury Reader. Okay. Okay, Mercury Reader. Yeah, here it is. It is already added to my Chrome page, but this is an incognito tab, right? So Mercury Reader, what it does is, I would show you what it does is, let's say that I am at this page, the Hindu, the New Indian Express pe hu main. I am at a home page. Let's say I want to read an editorial. From here I go to menu tab, then I go to opinions, editorials. Let's say this is the editorial, this is the article that I want to read, and I do not want to see this JioMart ka ad and all, right? So what I would just do is that I've already added Mercury Reader as an extension. I would just click once over here, and then it could give me a very clean approach, and which is also distraction free, right? So yeah, that is the way to remove distractions from your articles, right? This is completely free. The Mercury Reader is completely free and easy to use, and I hope you understand the way to use it, right? Okay. So now that you have looked at the pros and cons of reading the editorial both online and offline, now let us get into an editorial. What is the structure of an editorial, right? So guys, in a typical editorial, and I would say in a typical The Hindu ka editorial, you will find normally 2 paragraphs, sometimes 3. Okay, so you would find 2 or 3 paragraphs of The Hindu ka editorial. Then we have in each paragraph there would be arguments, there would be counter arguments as well, right? And counter argument को भी counter करने के लिए वो अपने argument को strengthen करने के लिए editors present counter arguments, and then they try to refute that counter argument. All right. Arguments may obviously premise and conclusion. The sum of premise and conclusion is forms an argument, right? Okay. So what happens now? Let's say we have first paragraph, then we have second paragraph, right? I'm speaking of a typical editorial. Okay. So So in the first paragraph, normally they put their initial impressions or their reactions. मतलब एडिटोरियल किस बेसिस पे होता है? एक इवेंट के बेसिस पे होता है. बेसिकली एक इवेंट पे कमेंट होता है, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल, इट कैन बी अ कमेंट ऑन द CAA, it can be a comment on, let's say, the farm mills that are in news right now, right? It can be on any sort of event. Normally it is any sort of significant event from all the fields, from science to sports to national news to international news, right? Any development, any significant development, the editors comment upon that development, and normally they put out their initial reactions. Okay, firstly they put out their initial impression, I would say. Okay, then as the paragraph proceeds, we see that they also put their arguments to support his or her initial impressions. Okay, ऐसा जनरली देखा गया है. उसके बाद अच्छा, arguments में भी there can be quite a lot of types of arguments in terms of the strength of the argument. All right, so to convince his or her readers, he or she tries to put his strongest arguments first. Okay, the strongest arguments they put it first, and then they obviously put out some relatively less strong arguments. Okay, that basically sums up the first paragraph. The second paragraph generally starts with either a suggestion or a counter argument. ठीक है, generally the second paragraph starts with either a suggestion, which means farm bills में गवर्नमेंट ने ये किया तो उसे क्या क्या करना चाहिए, ठीक है, या फिर काउंटर आर्ग्यूमेंट्स that it may be true that this is the मतलब suppose there is an editorial on the farm bills only. The second paragraph may start with, it may be true that the government want to give a guarantee to the farmers for minimum support price, but the intention is not clear. Now ये जो but होता है ना, these kinds of words you need to keep in mind, or your attention should be, मतलब जैसे ही तुम्हें ऐसे कुछ words दिखें, but, however, etc. I would also talk about this in useful tips section. ठीक है, so you should keep them in mind. तो पहले हो जाता है suggestion या फिर counter arguments, right? एंड अगर counter argument हुआ तो इससे खुद से रिफ्यूट करते हैं एडिटर, एंड देन अपना मेन आर्ग्यूमेंट, मतलब देन अपना स्टैंड. देखो, कई बार सुना होगा कि एडिटर्स स्टैंड चेंज करते हैं. नो, दैट इज़ नॉट द केस. एडिटर्स नेवर चेंज देयर स्टांस. दे आर वेरी वेल रेड एंड वेरी लर्नड पर्सन्स. दे नेवर चेंज देयर स्टांस. इंस्टेड व्हाट दे डू इज ना, दे ऐड वर्ड्स लाइक however, but to present some counter arguments. And then they try to refute that, they try to nullify that counter arguments normally in the second paragraph. Okay, and then finally they try to sum up their arguments in a single sentence. Especially if you look at the last sentence, na, it is basically the sum up or the summary of the editorial. The editor tries to include all the important points of his article in that one sentence, right? And then he or she concludes his or her article or editorial. So yeah, that is generally a structure of a good editorial. It is, as I said, it is full of arguments. It contains some counter arguments as well. The author nullifies or weakens his or her counter arguments, and then tries to strengthen his arguments further, and then presents a conclusion, right? So that's therein the structure of a typical editorial. Now let us read an editorial ourselves so that you may get a better understanding of reading the editorial effectively. So this is the editorial that I am going to use for the purpose of this video, right? This editorial is based upon an event that happened in the month of September 2020, the Bhiwandi building crash. It is based on this. The bottom line of the editorial is that to prevent building collapses, governments should offer incentives for repairs. Okay. So let's get started. Before that, let's see. Yeah, there are 2 paragraphs, and so this editorial was taken from The Hindu. Okay, and yeah, let's try to read this. It says Bhiwandi, a suburban town in the Mumbai metropolitan region, has witnessed a building collapse in the preceding weeks of the monsoon, killing at least 20 people, including minors, and exposing once again the precarious condition of many dwellings in one of India's more prosperous states. Okay, so as we see, the first part of the first sentence is the event itself. He's briefing us about the event, he or she, and then adding a comma and writing "and", he's saying his reaction that this event exposes once again the precarious or the doubtful or the risky condition of many dwellings in one of India's more prosperous states. In a way, he is indicating that if this is the situation in India's more prosperous states, what would happen in a less prosperous state or even the least prosperous state, right? Many more hapless residents and workers of a power loom unit operating in the aging 3-storied building were trapped under the debris. Legal liability and responsibility for the disaster have inevitably fallen on the owner of the structure and some municipal officials for failing to abide by pre-monsoon audits. Okay, so he's now in the second and third sentence as well, he's elaborating on the event, right? What has happened to more hapless residents and on whose shoulders has the legal liability and a responsibility fallen, right? Then he or she says that the monsoon has brought such disasters unfailingly to coastal Maharashtra, including Mumbai, for some years now. In July, okay, so here is his claim, right? That this has not happened for the first time, it is happening for years now. What is happening for years now? The monsoon. I mean the monsoon that brings disasters to coastal Maharashtra, including Mumbai. Okay. This is the claim, and for his support, in the next sentence, he says that in July, 7 people died in the commercial capital when 2 tall buildings in densely populated working class areas crashed after heavy rain. Another incident in Mahad, which means he's further elaborating his support for his claim that another incident in Mahad in the rain-drenched Raigad district killed many in August last year. These traumatic calamities, similar to many others in recent years, point to a worrying trend. Okay, so his argument ends there, and then he says that these traumatic calamities, they point to a worrying trend. And what is that trend? Coastal Maharashtra has often received a staggering quantum of monsoon rainfall, and Thane district, where Bhiwandi is located, recorded 320 centimeter rainfall 3 years ago, over the average of about 240 centimeter. This is an alarm signal, which means the fact that coastal Maharashtra has been receiving such high amount of rainfall each year, that fact is an alarm signal to the government. How is that an alarm signal? जब भी मैं ये questions पूछ रहा हूँ ना, in the next sentence only the answer follows. It means this editorial is a really strong. The author is making a strong point over here, right? Flimsy buildings, particularly those constructed in the 1970s, are in danger of collapse, while their owners and residents are unable to fund their maintenance. A weaker economy in the post-COVID-19 phase will render expensive repairs even less feasible. So, here he's partly trying to say that the owners and residents are not fully responsible for the collapses of the buildings, right? And then he starts his second paragraph, and there he concludes his first paragraph, and then he starts his second paragraph by saying that ending the tragic episodes of building collapses will require Maharashtra to raise the bar for municipal services, beginning with safety audits. So, जैसे मैंने कहा था, second paragraph generally एक suggestion या फिर counter argument से शुरू होता है. This has started with a suggestion, right? That ending these tragic episodes will require, where is the pen gone? Yeah. Will require, which means that is a suggestion, will require Maharashtra to raise the bar for municipal services. And where can it begin? It can begin with safety audits, right? It is true that Mumbai's municipal government has been identifying and classifying buildings based on hazard levels for some time now, and last year found 499 to be in a dangerous state. This program, which means he or she is satisfied by what Mumbai's municipal government has done, right? And then he says that this program must now include, which means a further strong suggestion, must is a strong word, right? Must now include suburban local bodies such as the Bhiwandi Nizampur City Municipal Corporation, which lack the capacity and resources to carry out a comprehensive check, right? On the other hand, which means a further suggestion, on the other hand, owners or building owners must be incentivized to carry out safety repairs with supports from the center and the state, making such certified expenditure tax deductible. So he's giving a further suggestion that building owners को incentivize करो for repairs, for doing the repairs of the buildings, right? Mumbai's municipal engineers have in the past complained of political interference, okay, in the enforcement of safety norms. But as Monday's accident makes clear, safety depends on quality. A more profound question is, so he's basically nullifying or ridiculing that the municipal engineers' conduct, that the fact that they are complaining of political interference. He's saying that a more profound question should be whether purely market-led approaches to housing can support Mumbai's ambitions for growth, especially when its poorly housed workers might be better served by a hybrid solution that includes decent, affordable social accommodation. He's supporting his claim for that argument. The immediate priority for Maharashtra, this is the concluding sentence in fact, the immediate priority for Maharashtra is to understand the scale of the problem, identify the weakest structures and launch a plan to prevent disasters. Which means he has completely summed up the second paragraph in his final sentence. है ना? He's given all the suggestions in a single sentence. कि we need to understand the scale of the problem. That here he says that the Maharashtra government needs to understand the scale of the problem, identify the weakest structures and launch a plan as well to prevent disasters. So he categorizes this incident as disaster and tries to present some solutions, right? So in this editorial, when we read this, I want you to maybe go through this reading once again and try to identify the various arguments that the author has mentioned. This is very important, okay? The various arguments, which means कि तुम्हें premises का ध्यान रखना होगा, and उसी के बाद support आता है, conclusion सॉरी प्रीमाइसेस ही तो सपोर्ट होते हैं. समटाइम्स प्रीमाइस पहले आता है, समटाइम्स प्रीमाइस बाद में आता है, राइट. और कंक्लूजन मतलब जो क्लेम द ऑथर इज मेकिंग, you need to keep those things in mind. And words like let's say but, ये जो but का word है इस एडिटोरियल में कम आया, लेकिन normally you spot this word a couple of times, at least 2 or 3 times. And then there is a very famous word known as however. Spelling error लिख रहा हूँ, however. Okay, so these words are, I would say कि these are the turning points, right? जहाँ पे ऑथर अपना स्टांस नहीं बदलता बट अपना प्रेजेंट करने का तरीका बदलता है, और प्रेजेंट सम काउंटर आर्ग्यूमेंट्स, राइट. यू नीड टू कीप दोज थिंग्स इन माइंड. सो आई होप this reading made some sense. Please share your feedback in the comment section. Okay, now let us look at some useful tips, or in fact let us sum up the useful tips that we have talked about so far in this video. So the first useful tip is to pay close attention to the special characters that are present in any passage, for that matter, right? By special characters I mean the punctuation marks like comma, full stop तो ध्यान रखते ही हो, comma, colon, full stop, hyphen, inverted comma, double inverted comma. Each of these special characters carry a different meaning, and I would encourage you to read upon the internet the meaning of each of these special words, because if you paid attention to my reading, I tried to pay a very close attention to these special characters. Okay, because these help in understanding the text in much better way. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's the first useful tip. Okay. The second important tip is to not to read at our comfortable pace. Read at a comfortable pace. At a comfortable matlab at your comfortable pace. If you observed my reading, I tried to neither slow down my reading nor did I try to rush it. Okay, so we need to read at a comfortable pace, and I know that for most of you there would be a new buzzword which is reading speed. Reading speed के बारे में बहुत बात हो रही है, especially since the CLAT changed its pattern. Now the truth about this is that let's say you are a science student and you are reading physics, and then you are asked to read economics or accounts. Now the reading speed of physics for you as a science student would be significantly higher than for you reading economics, right? So basically the funda of, or the concept of reading speed is not really relevant. Okay, you need to read from the editorials. If you read it for 6 months, for 5-6 months that we have for CLAT, you would be exposed to a whole lot of topics, and that would help you to increase your reading speed overall. ठीक है? And we should never try to analyze or calculate our reading speed on internet or from any other source for that matter, because they never give us the true picture. Okay, sometimes we get a reading material or reading text that we are comfortable in, and sometimes we do not get so, है ना? फिलोसफी के स्टूडेंट को इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ने बोलोगे तो प्रॉब्लम होगी उसे, एंड सेम फॉर एन इकोनॉमिक्स स्टूडेंट, if you ask him to read philosophy, there would be problem as well. Okay, so yeah, that was the second tip, that you should read at your comfortable pace. Neither should you read at read in hurry or in rush, nor should you slow it down. Okay. The third and final important tip is increasing or improving your vocabulary while reading editorial. So guys, let's say that I'm reading an editorial and let's say that I do not know a meaning of some particular word. Then the best thing to improve my vocabulary is that when you come across any particular word that you do not know the meaning of, first you should try to identify the meaning of that word from context, right? Because CLAT is going to test us upon that. And secondly, after you have tried to determine its meaning, you should look it up on the internet or dictionary, whatever is preferable for you, and determine if you found it, if you got it correct or not. Let's say that I am reading some The Hindu editorial and let's say that I do not know the meaning of profoundly. I could simply right click if you are using your laptop and using the Microsoft Edge browser, and search in sidebar for that word. And here in this sidebar, you would be a web search would be made, and profoundly का मतलब यहाँ पे to a profound extent or in a profound way, extremely, that this is the meaning. Okay, if I had to choose this word, let's say I want to know the meaning of some other word like precedence. I go to search in sidebar for precedence and then I get my internet result. This is if you are using your laptop and using your Microsoft Edge browser. But if you are using newspaper, you have a more convenient way in the form of dictionary, right? A pocket dictionary or an Oxford dictionary will be of great help in this thing. Okay. So yeah, three tips. Pay attention to the special characters or punctuation marks. Read at your comfortable pace, and try to improve your vocabulary. Vocabulary can be improved drastically, guys. When I was in 3rd or 4th standard, my father used to teach me. So my father used to go to office at 9 a.m. and come at 1 p.m. And during vacations, our task, which means mine and my cousin's task, was to read an editorial from The Hindu and Times of India, and then we had to, pick up at least 5 to 6 words and then and look them up in the dictionary and then write its meaning down. Okay, he did not want us to understand what was written. I mean, what event it was written, but his aim was to improve our vocabulary. Okay, so yeah, that's there. So that's all in this video, guys. I hope you found this information useful, right? And I would sincerely ask you to please share your feedback in this video. Like this video so that more aspirants can get recommended, right? So this like this video so that this video gets recommended to more aspirants. Okay, and I would be glad if you do that. Like this video and subscribe to our channel. This is AcetheCLAT signing off. Bye.